Hi, Quindy.
For
recording.
Part of the benefit of these calls is that we get to see each other's faces, but I also have bad internet here, so I might put myself on mute or turn off video, but if we can see each other's smiling faces, we can't go to a DrupalCon together. So if you can handle it, don't worry if your kids run in. My kids will at some point, or dog, or whatever you consider your significant people in your life.
I can't handle a video recording, sorry. But you can look at that face.
No big deal. Don't feel like you have to either. I'm saying it more for my own benefit because I do these Zoom calls with work and I never turn on the video.
Agreed.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here in audio, and if you choose to turn on the video, that's fine too.
We are recording. Benji, you want to take over the agenda as you normally do, or do you want?
Well, I could do a quick review of the issue pipeline. I just updated the spreadsheet.
There she is.
Hey, Vicky.
But I can't share my screen.
Lucas, will have to let him.
But since last week, we've had 2 issues fixed, not counting the issues for the meeting.
You should be able to screen share.
It wouldn't let me.
You might have to let him, Lucas. I think you own this Zoom, right?
Or maybe it would be easier if I paste the URL into Slack, and whoever already has permission can share.
Just disabled participant screen share.
That one was disabled. It was reverse of what I was looking. There now.
Try it again. Yeah. Okay. So look at the top row. That's for this week. 2 issues fixed. As usual, that does not count issues for the meetings. 4 issues are RTBC, and they've all been updated fairly recently. Needs review is down to 29, so that's good. I don't know why. Maybe someone's been busy. It wasn't. I may have gotten a couple of issues out of RTBC, but not a lot. Of those, 4 are major. I think that's because I knocked one of the major ones back to needs work. That's the one with source count caching being broken. But the oldest issues still haven't been looked at in a long time, and there are now 2 issues needs review that have not been looked at in more than 3 months. And Yvonne has set up this nice little graph so you can see the progress graphical form, and of course the yellow line is needs review. It's gone down in the last couple of weeks. Fixed and RTBC not changed a whole lot.
Is there someone who's not on mute that might be having some feedback?
So I guess the rest of the usual agenda is who's here today. I usually add an icebreaker question, but I didn't think of one today. I'm Benji, one of the maintainers of the migration subsystem. Mike, say that you're another one of the maintainers.
I'm another one of the maintainers, although I haven't done a lot of maintaining as of late. But it's been a little while since I gave the issue queue my official like 2-day get it down to 0, and that might be next week during DrupalCon. So I'm on vacation this week, and I really thought I might do it this week, but I have decided not to touch my computer at all this week. But next week, I am all off all billable work just to do DrupalCon, and I hate sitting through DrupalCon presentations, so I'll probably have presentations up in the issue queue in the other window, and do a little bit of issue queue pruning next week.
Lucas?
Hey, Lucas Heading. I hadn't seen that spreadsheet from you, Benji. I shared an older version of one that Mr. Mike Ryan started several years ago, which was last updated a long time ago. But I shared that here in Slack, or in Zoom, sorry. I don't know if you want to use that as inspiration, or you can even supplement some of your numbers. That has some of the same sort of graphs and charts. But probably we'll try to look at some things next week. Probably more in the contrib space, trying to figure out what I want to do with Drupal spoons. Maybe move some things back to the Drupal.org issue queue for a couple of contrib migrate projects. Who's next? Do I get to pick?
Sure.
Allison, you're at the top of my screen.
I'm Allison. I am not a maintainer or co-maintainer, just a community member and sometimes contributor. And finally getting to work on migrations again. At least right now I'm on one, and then allegedly there are a few more coming as our organizations are finally sort of kind of getting ready to do the migrations that they need. I don't envy them. It's a difficult process. Oh, sorry, quick thing. I finally got to use like the migrate upgrade thing that just to like get started for the first time like a month ago or something. And it was awesome. It created so many things for me that it wasn't an option like a year and a half ago, the last time I did any migrations. So it was really amazing. And I just can't speak highly enough for the work that everyone has done in the last year and a half and before that and since then and et cetera. It was really cool.
Vicky?
I think Vicky's the one that was having feedback. She's been a little frozen since she joined.
Vicky, do you want to say hi? Also a co-maintainer, but I guess her electrons have farther to travel than the rest of ours. Vicky's in New Zealand. Marco, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
For the record, I
I'm
think her
Marco
computer is
Villegas.
allergic to proprietary software like Zoom. I think that's her problem. It's more likely than the distance.
That may be the problem.
Marco?
Yeah.
Say
So
something.
I was just saying that I'm Marco Villegas. I'm Marbelow7 on Didoro. So I am not a maintainer of Migrate, but I am around several migrations and has been trying to contribute in several places like Migrate Plus and some core patches even. And yeah, I like to work with the migration API, and it has evolved a lot. So thanks to all of you for taking care of it and improving it over the past few years. So it has been great to see that.
You don't have to brown nose us. Just say who you are.
And I don't think anyone on here that says, oh, I'm
My
not a
bad.
maintainer is actually doing themselves a service, because the lifeblood of of Drupal and of core is people who have an app itch to scratch, and several of us have not contributed to core as much as we would like to recently, but we're happy to see that you guys are contributing as well. So please don't apologize.
Yeah, I also I also wanted to mention one more thing is that it is great. It's a great thing that you're thinking of moving from back into Didero, Lucas, the Migrate Plus and other tools and other projects. It would be a lot easier for the credit system and things like that. So thank you.
Testing.
Hey, I'm Jamie, long-time Drupal developer since they had the DrupalCon in Boston in 2007, and been to most of them since then. And mostly done Drupal 7 work, so I'm definitely interested in Migrate. And I've done some Drupal 8 core contrib. And I'm working on migrating a charity's website as part of the Boston Drupal group.
Who do you want next, James?
I think Kundi is the only one who hasn't introduced himself.
Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
Hello, Kundi or TK. I'm I guess the newest one on the team. I've been pretty much new to Drupal, so been a lot of learning with the help of Jamie.
So I guess the next item on the usual agenda is what should we talk about today? And when the meeting is in Slack, we create a thread for each topic, but I'll start off. One thing I've been working on for the last few weeks is what Jamie mentioned, that with the Boston Drupal meetup, we've been working on a pro bono migration for a nonprofit site. And this is, I hope to do this more than once. And I hope to do it enough that the processes get down to the point where if we have a simple site, Drupal 6 or Drupal 7, that it's possible to do it in a day as at a contribution event. So if we get 6 or 8 or a dozen people together, I hope that for a simple Drupal site, we can get it migrated in a day. And Vicky in chat says, I keep saying hello and get no response from anyone. So everyone wave at Vicky.
Yeah.
We can hear you, but it's still wonky. We don't actually hear words.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, much better.
And she's gone.
So
Testing.
yes, we can hear you say
Yeah.
testing.
Wow. Hello, everybody. That only took 17 minutes to figure out how
Hello.
to speak. So needless to say, I've been stressed out doing that instead of paying attention.
Fine, we were just about to start.
Well, we couldn't because we didn't have our favorite maintainer on the call.
Oh,
Who's sucking up now?
Well, we have to. Vicky's
Just
the
kidding. I'm
bomb.
just kidding.
No, Vicky's the bomb. She's the one who gets the work done, and all the rest of it get to get credit from her contributions. I can remember
There's
standing
something too on the nose about that, but let's just carry on.
I was standing in line at some event at a DrupalCon once, and Vicky wasn't there, chatting with someone, and we were all looking at each other and talking about folks we were working with, and Vicky's name came up. I don't know if I ever told you this, Vicky. Your name came up, and we were like, oh, wow, she's got more commits this last year than Tim Plunkett or something. It's like, wow. So no, you're a great contributor and you're very prolific, and the contributions are well well appreciated.
Thank you. So yes, I'm Victoria. I'm one of the maintainers, and I do Migrate just because I like it. I think it's really cool. And I'll do just about anything in Migrate. I'm the one who does the UI that no one else wants to do.
Yeah, and
So-
I think as I'm working on my project to migrate simple sites, I will be paying more attention to UI things in the next few months. So I think we'll finally be able to get some of those issues done if you're still willing to work with me.
Yes, I love the thoroughness of your reviews, Benji. I learned more about myself from your reviews than anybody else's.
Why, thank you. Are there other topics anyone else wants to talk about? I guess a big one is who's going to fix migrate tools and for Drush 10.4? I sort of intended to do it, but never found time.
I don't have maintainers access to tools.
That doesn't matter. I can give it to you in a heartbeat.
Actually, I'd like to get movement on the create a way to declare plugins deprecated. So, but just park that.
So Drush 10 has implemented some migrate commands by default, right? Or is that 11?
That's Drush 10.4.
10.4, yeah. So is it incompatible with the current command stuff that we have, or is it just the fact that we need to clean it up because it's really
No, it's got a
set that
composer
up?
JSON entry for sort of blocking you.
Okay.
So what we need to do is, without breaking too much, go into migrate tools and remove those. It's not all of the commands, but
Right.
enough of them. Or hopefully, and maybe that's the first step, is remove them. And then release a new version that has like the UI components of migrate tools. And then
Right.
incrementally re-add as like alters, like the progress bar and some other things back to migrate tools, or contribute those to Drush directly.
So I haven't completely looked at exactly what Drush implemented. It looked like it was really just a basic
They took migrate run, and I don't think migrate run had but the basic, and it didn't have any new features. Or that progress bar is really sweet.
Yeah, so it doesn't have, but probably doesn't have the exhaustive options that
It didn't.
the Drush MR has in tools either. So
Right, like you couldn't do by like ID with an ID that has a colon in it. With migrate run, there's a lot of little small features that kind of got built over time.
But if you look at the Drush 10.4 command, it does claim to use ID list.
No, it does. It's very well, and it might actually, but
no, it doesn't. Well, it fails for me. I can't
Okay.
use it.
I was gonna say, but does it have the whole, like, we can do multiple, like we had a whole thing of commas and semicolon separators to separate multiple IDs and like, we
right.
had a
No,
whole,
it doesn't support that.
Right.
I knew it didn't do that, and I told, yeah, I knew it didn't do that. So here's the backstory: is that 3 years ago maybe there was a request to put it into Drupal to Drush core. At the time, it didn't seem to make sense. Then we did. Then what is it? 6 months ago, 3 months ago, sort of surfaced again, and I couldn't think of a good an excuse. And so it landed in Drush core. But then I've been buried under projects with not enough time to go in and fix things, and everyone was kind of in that way. So no one's stepped forward.
Did they make new commands, or did it trample on the the tools command name?
Tramples.
Yeah, that's bad form on them. I mean, it's actually probably bad form on us for using a migrate namespace in migrate tools. We probably should have called it all migrate tools. But
well, there was no migrate commands in Drush core at all.
Right. Oh, I know.
So, you know. And I think everyone kind of at the time thought it would be easier, faster to just do it and then fix it, but that's not proven to be the case.
All right. Yeah, so we either switch to a new namespace, which is disruptive, or we contribute back full functionality to the commands that were trampled on back to Drush.
You can alter them. You can alter commands. So that might be another approach, would be to like command alter and add in the additional options and the additional flags, which would be pretty easy to do, but there was a lot of test coverage added over the that was a big focus of mine. And that's going to be tricky.
So would it be easier
I guess,
to alter the commands, or would it be easier to contribute everything, that all migrate CLI commands from tools into Drush?
And the problem with doing that,
I think that's
control. You know, we don't. I mean, we're then at the mercy of them to.
No, Mosh isn't going to slap our hands off there.
In other words, you're saying he'll accept our pull requests or merge requests.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know, plus we're also, the other issue is you know, Drush support, where, you know, a lot of sites will get a version of Drush and never move past it. So we then have to, anything we do in tools or anywhere else, like with tools now, we can keep plus and tools kind of version dependence on each other. We tend to raise the major version of them at the same time, and we update the Drush commands at the same time. The fact that, I mean, we can still do it, I guess, with composer stuff, but it's going to make it a little bit trickier, because we might, you know, say we update the Drush command in Drush core and that gets into Drush 11, but that needs some change over in migrate tools to be compatible. Then we're stuck, and depending on what version of Drush you have, you might only be able to get a certain version of migrate tools, and then you're going to start losing out, and then throw Pantheon's Pantheon will do something silly like only supporting, you know, Drush 9 or 10, and that'll throw us off. I mean, it's just a pain. It's not like
right.
Yeah, so I guess so I guess the big decision is to decide what to do, or go over Drush, as you point, Benji, or just do it from alters inside Migrate Plus. Another possible option would be to actually try to convince Drush to create extra packages in the same way that core does, and in that way we can have the best of all worlds, but it may be too much of a change for Drush maintainers. But in my personal opinion, I would suggest to go over to contribute things into Drush itself if possible, and maybe use that extra option to split Drush to create two composer packages, one for Drush and one for the migrate commands.
Like additional composer dependency type extensions?
Right, in the same way that core creates several packages for components, in the same way, they could do something similar, splitting the repository, but it's more work and it's a change of workflow. But yeah, I would lean towards that. But but Mike raised a great point on if Drush doesn't get updated, then we are stuck on the old version of commands, and that may be hard to.
I'm kind of inclined to take back the commands back into a new namespace. Do the alters right now if we can, but deprecate the use of them. So if anybody uses an option that we're adding in the alter, trigger a deprecation warning and say they should use the new commands, and we'll have, you know, a new migrate tools run MTR or something. Like I'm of the opinion we should maybe transition the migrate tools commands over to a new namespace as best we can, so that we can keep everything aligned.
That sounds like a lot of duplication to me.
It does.
Unless we can do it in a way that we're using a lot of the code that's already in Drush.
Like extend that command.
I mean, the thing is that the command that's built into Drush is designed to work just with migrate core. It doesn't take any of the extra stuff that migrate tools can do into account. So, you know, we have our own executable in migrate tools that does a whole lot of lifting as far as, you know, filtering and all that kind of stuff. And the Drush command is designed to take accounting of that. I assume that the command that's in Drush core doesn't, you know, do any of that, because it doesn't have access to migrate tools executable. It can only do what it can do with a raw Drupal core install. So I mean,
I think
command
it might have a executable to like provide some feedback response, but it was never fully, it was never extended nearly as much. So one option, take back migrate tools namespace, but then that kind of gets us away from the purpose of moving it into Drush cores, so then people don't have to install something else to execute a core migration.
Well, that's why it's not really a duplicated effort. I mean, if they've got a simplified command in there that works for core, you know, so be it. But if you're going to install migrate tools, then you want the high octane Drush commands, which again, I'm back to the opinion we should maybe just translate into, you know, a migrate tools namespace.
What's the, so we've got 8 people on the call here. What's the chance that we're going to confuse everyone in the world that's used migrate for the last 5 years? Where they now upgrade to, well, you know, it's been fairly stable. I haven't read the release notes. I go to migrate tools, whatever's 5 or 6 or something. And that also comes maybe or maybe not with an updated version of Drush to 10.4 or greater, and now everything breaks. Right. I mean, quick.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying. You know, do the alters to re-implement the functionality we had as best we could under the original commands, and throw a big old deprecation warning into the keyboard saying using this option with Drush MR is no longer supported. You should be using Drush MTR to get the old function, whatever. I don't know. I don't do language like that. I put a blank string in there, and then Vicky writes something really nice.
See, Vicky, that you're the one who keep us all together.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying is yeah, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be a pain, but we can minimize that if we do the alter and we flag in there that this is no longer a migrate tools command. The command you're looking for, this is not the command you're looking for.
Got it. So take back our namespace, implement it with a deprecation. So first step, release a new 5.x tag, 5.something tag with everything recently committed. to do what we just said.
Yeah, I mean, even right now, set new aliases for all the command, or set the new commands and the new namespace for everything. Add aliases to the existing older ones. You can do this even still without allowing Drush 10.4. I mean, we do this right now, where anybody that uses the old command namespace, say with transition, starting with Migrate Tools 6, you'll need to use the MTF or MTR command or MT. I don't know, whatever. That makes sense nowadays.
So do the deprecations before 5 dot something is tagged.
Yeah, and then so where are you at? You're in 5x on them right now.
I think that's right.
Do you have
I
any
think
idea?
so.
Is there like any breaking changes you're ready to get out for 6, or is that?
This would be the reason to go to 6. We're very loose with numbers. We end up having to upgrade frequently.
Sure, I know. But you don't have anything, I guess, in the pipeline right now, like waiting for 6. Anything
No, it's
special
been
in a
pretty
6X
stable.
branch?
It's been pretty stable.
So right now we could do the change the aliases, but I mean keep them alias to the old one and just put a deprecation notice in if you use the old one. I think we could do that pretty easily. And then at some point we need to come up with a patch that I guess requires Drush 10.4 or higher, because I don't know if we're going to be able to simultaneously have the commands and the alters. I mean, I think we're going to have to switch from. I think we're going to have to at some point, set the requirement to 10.4 plus.
Well, that's assuming that you always use Drush, because Migrate Tools supports non-Drush.
So conflicts with Migrate
Yes.
Drush 10.4 or less, I guess is how you put it. That's all I meant.
Okay.
We'd set a conflict for less than 10.4, so you couldn't install Migrate Tools, this new one, aside anything less than 10.4. It would strip out. They only, again, I think they did what, Migrate run and Migrate reset or Migrate rollback. I don't remember which ones. It was only a small subset.
They didn't do the fields or anything like that. I think it's reset, rollback, and migrate.
Whatever they did, then we'll take them out, add the alters, leave the deprecations in the alters. If we can get feature parity with what we had before through the alters, we should. If we can't, then what can we do? Do the best we can.
So would you be open to receive a set of changes to on this new branch breaking compatibility to have the commands, instead of just starting from scratch, to start extending the commands inside Drush core? I know that if we have a parallel namespace, that's not the idea, but I'm on, like, I agree with Benji that it would be great to inherit everything that that Drush core is having, because eventually they will be adding more things in, and it would be great to also have those inherited instead of maintaining our separate changes.
But again, the problem
so
is
would that be welcome?
The problem with that still is that the Drush commands we've implemented in Migrate Tools require Migrate Tools and Migrate Plus to work. They have special handling for things that Migrate Tools and Migrate Plus are capable of doing, and that cannot be done with core alone. So I don't want to start extending.
That is right.
I don't want to start extending existing core Drush commands, because then whatever Mosh decides to go in and change, instantly breaks us, and we constantly have to be capping what version of Drush we can allow with anything.
Well, it gets tricky because Drush is a suggestion; it's not a requirement. So we can't really. We can always be messing with conflicts and things.
It's all conflicts. Yeah, I mean, it's all conflicts. Conflicts with. But I mean, we basically have to say conflicts with Drush higher than whatever the latest version we've tested it with. And we constantly have to have that in the code. And so anybody that's using Migrate can now all of a sudden not update Drush beyond the most recent version until we get around to putting a patch that says they can.
Here
might be
are the
all of
migrate
them.
commands that Drush provides.
Okay, so I think it might actually be all of them, but just limited flags.
Right.
So this is one approach. It's kind of though like thumbing our nose to having this in core Drush. Do we, just for the sake of argument, do we want to embrace this and rather than leaving it in Migrate tools, try to figure out a way to put it into Drush core itself?
I used migrate run as an example. I already had it typed, so whatever.
No, that's fine.
It would still necessitate a release, like a new, like some kind of communication about change to migrate tools, right? Or maybe it wouldn't, because it wouldn't be gone. Sorry, thinking out loud is a great idea on a recording.
But I mean,
That's accurate. That was my understanding of the other option.
I mean, it's close. Again, the issue is that
is it just the
version of
config
Migrate-
entities, Michael?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's all. I mean, we put a lot of options into the executable itself with the executable handles. If they copied our executable,
there's the config entities, and then there's groups. Are those the two?
Yeah, okay, so definitely, yeah, groups is not in there because that's all Migrate Plus, and config entities is not technically supported, but we don't actually really do anything special with config entities through Drush in Migrate Tools because we just get a list of the system migrations, and Migrate Tools Migrate Plus already spits them all out as regular migrations through a single migration and a driver. So, as a matter of fact, when Mosh came, he's like, we implemented migration commands into Drush core, but they don't work with config entities. And that was my first response. I'm like, they probably do, because we don't, the whole point of Migrate Plus is to turn those config entities into core migrations. So it just works. So I don't think we do anything special with config entities. So maybe it's just, maybe my attitude changed if really the only thing missing from their commands is running by group.
Well, and all the tweaks that we've added over time. All of the enhancements that, so I feel like run was a great
I just don't know
thing,
which one,
but it sort of was stale.
It looked like they had most of the same options that we had when I glanced at it.
Because run was a fork of tools that didn't have anything but the Drush commands.
Right.
But it was done like 3 or 4 years ago, and then I did a push there when client work was slow to really improve things and improve test coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've had a lot of one-off sort of things added in.
I don't know. I gotta say, at this point, I just wish they hadn't put them into Drush. They didn't ask us; they just came in and did it.
No, they did. They asked me, Michael, and I couldn't come up with a real good response at the time.
I mean, my response.
They asked 3 years ago, and I said no, and then they came up with a better reason this time, and I was maybe just too tired out from project work, and like, whatever, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to do it, and I think everyone thought we'd be able to do it. Do what we're just discussing a lot faster, so it'd be less disruptive.
I mean, maybe we just take all the Drush commands out of Migrate Tools and let the ones that are in Drush core do it. And that's all we can do. And if we need to add something new, then we can add it in as a new command or something like that. Because that to me is where the disk, when we want to upgrade something, when we want to improve a Drush command, we we make changes to the drush command, but we also often make a couple of changes to the executable or some source, plugins or whatever to accommodate it. And it's important that those changes get bundled together.
Yeah.
And the fact that the drush commands are now in another package out of our control, not that we can't do it, but it still means now any change to those now has to be coordinated. There's got to be, composer conflicts to make sure that people don't get an incompatible version of drush and migrate tools. So I
want to be clear on this, that Moshe and Greg do a really good job. Moshe is a coworker of mine. So I mean, I think that we're perhaps being a little overly cautious, if we will. There is a migrate executable in Drush core, but it's, like I said, really streamlined. It does have limited test coverage.
When you said moving, Michael, that like it was in a different, you were saying something about it being moved to a different package with this. Do you mean just like from migrate tools to Drush, or like the migrate command specifically, or no? That's what you're saying? Or is it like a Drush plugin? Is that what?
I mean, I wasn't saying, I think it was Marco that was talking about creating another.
Well, so that's what I was thinking, because I was
create another vendor package that's under our control that we can coordinate with.
But that gets away from,
it gets away from
composer required Drush. I think some of the arguments, then you can run it on Pantheon without having to install Composer and so forth. But, well, don't try to run anything on Pantheon that also involves migrate.
So because to some extent it makes me think about like how migrate plus, some new functionality gets built there. And I don't know if this still happens. I know that people talked about it this way a year and a half ago. Maybe it's not still the case, that certain functionality from migrate plus eventually gets moved into core. Is that still something that happens or not really?
Sometimes if there's a reason.
Not often. Okay, so it's not a common thing. So then the rest of what I was just thinking about migrate tools, like similar concept with Drush core, but
in the early days, I think it did. I think it more moved from, but then we found a lot of the things, and sort of our litmus test, it's been a pretty good litmus test, drives everyone crazy, I think, is, well, we're going to use it in core. If we can't use it in core for a core migration, we shouldn't put it in. And I know that drives a lot of people crazy, that flippant response, but it's helped us sort of maintain scope a little bit of what gets
so hard to make us. I think it's
a line in the sand, right?
Yep.
If we had to draw one, that's
really important. Valuable. I get that. I was thinking of it a little bit like like the way that Marco was talking about it. Theoretically, if it were a Drush package, it could theoretically be a little bit more about like that kind of a system of being developed in migrate tools Drush package to eventually go into Drush core. I'm not sure that I think that's like what should happen. I'm just thinking about it.
It could. I don't know that migrate run had better test coverage, but it didn't have config entities, and it was the MVP, the simplest solution. The lines of code was very minimal. Still a lot of code, but it's what landed. Yeah, 600 lines for the executable. So yeah.
The new namespace feels like the simplest, like the most realistic, practical, and simplest.
Right, but Benji's also true. We're going to be duplicating a lot of the commands. I'm wondering now. I'm wondering now if we shouldn't just, for the most part, take the drush commands out of migrate tools. And if we need to, or if we want to like re-implement our own custom migrate run because it's got better progress reporting or that kind of stuff, go ahead and do it in a new namespace. But like basically just right now, say, right now, shove while we're still blocking drush 10.4, put a message in our drush commands that says, hey, once you upgrade to 6.0, the drush commands are transitioning to core and whatever, we'll lose the group option. You want those great progress reports. I mean, again, other than those two things, the commands are on par with what we have. You're going to lose the group option. You're going to lose probably better progress reporting.
By ID.
Yeah,
the ID list stuff was in there though, wasn't it?
It didn't work.
Oh, it just
so we'll
doesn't-
fix it.
So we can that yeah. So I mean, so we can fix that. I mean, if it's buggy, then that's probably on us to help them fix.
So-
And then we could even put the group option thing in as an alter in Migrate Plus. You know, that's where it belongs. That's where the group config entity lives. It should be in Migrate Plus probably.
So there's
Um,
4
we're-
features, I think. One of them we'll say is a bug, but by ID, by group, progress bar, and sync support. Is there anything else that occurs to anyone that
Sounds about right.
that's about right?
So I
Mauricio,
think
you've used this a lot. Do you have any other thoughts besides those 4 things? Yeah, okay.
But it's hard to tell because, you know, unless we've used both for a while, we're
Right.
not sure what's really missing.
Well, it was in
So-
Migrate Run, so I
So
think those are the only differences of major significant bug fixes here and there.
So ID list, it says it's supposed to do, so we should just fix that there, and we should help them out and do that. All right. The group option should be probably Migrate Plus.
Yeah, I said
what
sync,
else?
Mauricio.
What else did you say was the other two?
Sync, progress bar, and by group.
The progress bar we should probably do in there too, I guess.
That was really
unless it's
pretty
gonna-
easy.
Yeah, I mean, if that's easy enough. If group we can do is actually if we can do that as an alter, we could do that as an alter too. Progress bar maybe.
Now,
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is that for the maintainers, it's probably easier to re-implement everything and say, okay, Drush maintainers, you do what you want. We're going to maintain what we've already got. That would be the simplest for the maintainers. But that would really be a headache for the people using it. Like, should I use the Drush version? Should I use the Migrate Tools version? And what if
I'm not
someone
suggesting
improved
we
one of the
make-
Drush commands without making the same improvement in ours?
The only thing what I'm saying is if we fix ID list and we fix progress bar in Drush, or we do progress bar as an alter, and we do the group's going to definitely have to be an alter because only Migrate Plus knows about group. The progress bar we could probably do in Drush. We might have to adjust their executable, but I don't think
I'm
The
gonna,
sync could be, we could introduce a new command for sync, Migrate Tools sync, which is a run command that does the sync. That should be in Migrate Tools because that requires the Migrate Tools executable. And then from there on out, anything that we add to tools that kind of needs a Drush command, we create a new Drush command for. I mean, we wouldn't be able to really add it as an option to anything, but we could always create a new command, or, you know, Migrate Sync would be kind of the hyped up, you know, we could call it Migrate Tools Sync. It could be or come up with a better name. And that could be kind of our version of Migrate Run that's got, you know, the sync option built in. And that's where if we need to add more options for us, then we can add them in there. And if it's something that makes sense to backport to Drush, we can do it. And if it's not, because it's Migrate Tool specific, which it most likely will be, then we just keep it in tools, you know, and then we're only maintaining one command in tools, and it's just to handle sync and the
migrate tools
in there.
import. Yeah, I'm down with that. Progress bar probably through an alter. It does use Symfony, so whatever. I would say group though. I would really like to get that into Drush core. It isn't Drupal core, And I think that we could probably get that in there. It's not that complicated. And I think that it was going to allow people to actually use Drush Migrate. Because people will use Migrate Run, but they'll still come back to the config entities for everything else. The Migrate groups come from Migrate Plus, not from tools. So they could have run Migrate Run with Migrate Plus and gotten away with things. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, but we'd have to check for like Migrate Plus and Drush. I mean, that's the problem, is that is the fact that we don't have
module exists. I don't know.
Right, but do they do that for Drush Core? Like if you're
Sure,
I mean,
why not?
I mean, we'll
Why not?
I don't know. We wouldn't do it in Drupal Core.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's Drush though. It's not.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if Mosh is willing to put in stuff that's specific to config modules in Drush Core.
I don't think that we'll know until. I mean, I could ask him, but I'll ask him. But I don't think that that's off the table. I'd really like to. I feel like if we don't get that, then we're doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of checks you could do for it. I mean, doesn't Migrate Plus override the plugin manager to have a like create plugins by group or create? No, I don't remember. I could be wrong. I don't have it handy. I mean, you could just check and see if the migration plugin manager has that method on it and use it. But I mean, I guess the help text you'd really want to just do a module exists. I don't know. It gets a little ugly on the Drush side, but I mean, if they're willing to do it, so be it. I mean, you know, again, we could do progress bar and -- group in Migrate tools. Yeah, that doesn't, you know, it should be in Migrate Plus, but if we only do one alter and we do it right there, then it's always existed in tools already. So
If we do a poll of the 9 folks on the call, and if you could do, maybe the progress bar lags a little, but if you could do everything with Drush Core, except you still had to install Migrate tools for group stuff, would you still install Migrate tools? Because you need Migrate group for your credentials, for your database credentials, right? I mean, that's just plain obvious to me because I've lived and breathed this stuff for too long, but let me explain what Migrate Group does. I mean, it allows you to sort of mesh configuration into any and every migration by just saying, hey, you're a part of this group. And that what that does then for your SQL-based source plugins is it pulls in your database credentials from settings PHP. So you're not having to like litter that across Drupal.
But you don't need the -- group option. Or are you talking about moving the whole concept of groups into core?
No, I'm referring to the filter. So I want to run everything within the Drupal 7 upgrade group.
But I mean, you don't need to use that filter in the Drush command to get your database credentials injected. I mean, that's all in the driver in Migrate Plus. So that'll, if you just do migrate run this migration,
you do if you have multiple sources and some of those sources don't exist. It will like if you don't have database connectivity to like your legacy Drupal 6 site, but only the Drupal 7 site or something because it's on a VPN or whatever. And you know, it can cause a lot of errors, a lot of like
Right.
local development, right?
But that's not tied to the
Well, if you
group
filter,
option in Migrate
if you
Run.
filter by the group, then you don't like try to process the Drupal 6.
Okay, well, yeah. So in that sense, it's obviously very difficult to try
People
and
use
run
it
exactly.
to.
You'd
people
only be able
use-
to run single migrations. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and you still could do it. I mean, with tags or I mean, you could do something.
Yeah,
with
right. Yeah, you can do it all those other ways, but people don't today, and they've got it built into their cron jobs. So their cron jobs are going to fail.
But I mean, well, sure.
So maybe we want to try to do this iteratively and like consider each of these special things in Migrate Tools and Migrate Plus one by one. And again, I'm all for trying to reuse as much code as possible because the amount of people looking at it is, if we have two versions, will be less. And I truly would like to join efforts if possible. And so if we go one by one, maybe that's an easier choice than try to now decide if we are going to do it in one way or another.
Well, it sounds like everything except for the actual migrate run command, and I'm talking about the drush mr command, not the migrate run module. Sounds like all the rest of those are full featured that are in drush, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can definitely, we can definitely, be ready to take them out of migrate tools. We have a patch ready for it anyway, because we definitely don't need to maintain those in tools anymore. It's really just what are we going to do about drush migrate run? And we've been at it for an hour and we haven't solved it yet, so we're going to have to probably take it offline.
So
Use the whole meeting on it.
my goals for next week are to try to get things back onto Drupal.org, and then as time allows, throw up some pull requests or patches, I guess, on Drupal.org to try to figure out what might make the most sense. And so I'll post links in Slack for people to review and give me their opinion. And if people have opinions, please share. Michael and I don't hesitate to share ours. I hope you guys don't either. We've got pretty thick skin, so don't talk about my mother, but anything short of that, you're not going to offend me too much.
Yeah, I'll be focused on Drupal stuff next week during DrupalCon, so I will definitely be around. I will respond to direct pings on Slack pretty much anytime too. So I still plan on getting through the core issue queue at some point in the next week, which will help. And
the one I just posted into Zoom here is one that could use some focused attention.
Why does that number look familiar? I knew it was going to be that one.
It's my pet issue.
I knew that. I knew it. I knew that issue number looked familiar. What is this postponed on now? I thought
a trait, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, is this the one? Do I still need to go review this one and probably re-roll it at this point?
You're the last patch. I don't know.
Well, no, I know, but I thought there was some.
I think this is postponed on the issue that I reviewed a few months ago and kept nagging you about, and you
Right,
proved
yeah.
yourself wrong about responding to nags. in Slack.
Yeah.
Is that that is the trait?
You know what? I would agree to look at this in the next week, but I've said that probably 3 times now, so I'm not going to say it. But
Maybe I'll have a better chance of
But-
looking at it.
but we'll throw this at the top of the list.
Oh,
I thought I
fudge, I
was the
wanted mine
last
at the
patch
top of the
on it,
list.
so I'm not 100% sure. Or was it? Did I just need to address concerns? Maybe. I don't remember. I got to go over it. Whatever.
Okay.
My list.
For those who haven't joined calls like this is how it used to be when we did Google Hangouts for many years. Just a group of people chatting. We're going to try to do this every few months, I guess, maybe once a quarter. It's a chance for us to see smiling faces for those that want to. And if you don't feel like that, that's okay too. We know each other and we laugh with each other and we heckle each other. And we all give hugs to Vicky.
I think we are. We're looking at the first Thursday meeting that's at this time, because the early one is too early for Vicky. Which actually should be able to tell you what the next one is. It will be.
Well, Mike's thinking, Lucas, do you have a summary of what you guys decided about the Drush commands?
Yes.
To
We didn't
put in a
decide
comment
anything.
somewhere?
I have notes that
Okay.
I'll paste in here. They're very rough notes. I'm going to throw a patch or two together and share it in the Slack channel. And based off of feedback of whoever feels like they want to give it, take a direction from there.
And July 1st will be a Thursday when the meeting is in this time
July
slot.
1st. Yep. Next one will be July.
Are we
1st.
posting did we record this for posting, or are we just going to summarize?
I do have a video
Yeah.
recording. I could load it on YouTube if we think that's useful.
Yes.
I don't think anyone did anything particularly embarrassing.
No, but I will say, get Allison's permission, because she did say she didn't want to be videoed, and then she turned her video back on for the whole video.
I appreciate that. I knew when I did it, but thank you for making sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting to see if anyone
If
spoke
not,
up.
if not, we can probably edit it and block it out too.
I am comfortable with it, and thank you for making
Okay.
sure.
Yes, good on you, Mike, for asking. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not thoughtful enough. Sorry about that. So yeah, anyways, this is what it is. A lot of people just chatting.
Reconnecting as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
How are the kids? You know, whatever.
Mhm. No, this was good. I wish I could see you all in person next week. at
Yeah.
DrupalCon.
Sorry, this last comment, Lucas, this is,
Kind of a repaste
option
of something
that-
other.
okay.
It's just the notes I had. They're very rough. They mean nothing to probably anyone else, but they mean something to me.
Cool. They look to me like a description of the first option that we discussed.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. Then awesome. It looks great. It makes a lot of sense.
Maybe. Where is everyone located? I know, Vicky, you're in New Zealand. Marco, where are you at?
I'm in South America, in Peru, in Lima.
Peru?
Yes.
I'm still up in
Nicaragua.
Michigan.
And
Mike,
Mauricio
where are
joined
you?
us.
U.S. Eastern Time Zone in Michigan.
Michigan.
Michigan. Yep.
Can't
Very
remember. For
edge.
some reason, it doesn't stick.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I spoke over you, Allison.
No, I was saying like the very edge of the Eastern Time Zone. Right? Basically.
Which edge?
I was trying to figure it out in my head, like that
Western.
means that your right now is sunnier than my right now, except it's very sunny right now. I'm in upstate New York.
Yeah.
You're in Canada,
Ah.
basically. But
Oh,
Okay.
lucky you. I used to live in Albany. I loved it.
oh, okay.
I loved the cold winters. They were great.
Yes, yes, I love it too.
Yeah.
So
I've been
I
known to go
just
down.
moved to Rochester, but I was
Ah,
near Ithaca, but I'm from near Syracuse. But anyway,
yeah. I've been known to go down south to get a nice cold winter.
I bet.
We're in the hottest time of the year in one of the hottest cities of Nicaragua. So it's
Ah,
almost 100 every day, maybe more some days.
oh my goodness.
Or if you're centigrade, mid to upper 30s,
Yikes.
36, 37. I think Sunday was 37.
Oh my
How do you
gosh.
endure that, Lucas?
What was that?
How do you endure that? Like here in Managua, it's crazy, and in Leon it's even worse. I know.
Yeah, no, it's worse here. We swim some. The kids are splashing in the pool right now. It's cold. Or hot. Sorry, the water is cold, but the air is hot. Low humidity, fortunately, right now.
It's interesting that now is the hottest time of year. I don't know why that's interesting to me. I'm just thinking about like flipped it, like October would not be.
So it's more related to when rains come. So we haven't really had any rain since about November 30th. And by June, it's usually rained once or twice to help cool things off. But also if you look at where the sun overhead, like it's much more further to the north right now. So it's kind of overhead now. And then it goes more south towards, I guess towards New Zealand, south. And so our coldest temperatures are like October and our hottest temperatures are Semana Santa. Everyone goes to the Mar. And Marco smiles because does everyone go to the Mar down in Peru? Where else does
was that,
everyone
sorry?
hail from? Does everyone go to the Mar for Semana Santa in Peru?
Well, here is pretty restricted, so you can actually should not use or not allow it officially. So yeah, it is not that much possible. It's pretty far.
What other locales are we hailing from?
Uh,
Yeah, Benji,
couldn't
where are
be-
you?